Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Jobity, and I am the Brilliant Unveiler and founder of the Unveil Way, host and creator of the Power Shift Summit, Women Igniting Change and Shaping the Future. I am so thrilled to bring this event to women globally because I believe we are at a pivotal point in time where women are being called to rise and shine. These authentic, unedited conversations are meant to ignite your inner fire so you will be so inspired and motivated and emboldened to take the reins of your destiny so you can soar as the powerhouse woman that you are. Our powerhouse speaker today is the phenomenal Ber-Henda Williams. Welcome, Ber-Henda.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
You are so welcome. I can't wait for us to get started. So let me tell you all a little bit more about Ber-Henda. She is living her life in color, and she has been bilingual for over 10 years. The Femilutionary
Yep.
keynote speaker and feminine leadership coach lives up to her name's German Greek origin. Wow. The bare-hearted protector of multiculturalism, art, and womanhood. As a Wayne State University graduate, she holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Spanish and a minor in international marketing. Oh my goodness. Ber-Henda was a featured presenter at SXSW's Interactive Tracks in 2016 and has facilitated for numerous organizations such as Alternatives for Girls, Job Corps, and Women Organized Michigan. Um, she has also hosted cultural events and performed on stages such as the Charles H. Wright Museum, the Music Hall, Heart Plaza, and the Festival of Art. And she was also a guest speaker for Toyota Motor Company's Juneteenth celebration. So welcome. So our topic with Ber-Henda today is a wonderful one. It's called The Power of Feminine Empathetic Leadership. And I'm just going to love this, y'all. So, Ber-Henda, tell us about your journey to embracing this idea of empathetic feminine leadership. What was your journey to get to that passion?
Well, I've been considered highly sensitive my whole life. My mother would tell me things like, never let them see you sweat, meaning never let people see you cry. And I remember just vividly as a young girl seeing commercials for Save the Children or animal shelters or things, against animal cruelty and just being overcome with emotion, just really just overcome. And something has to be done about this. I just thought it was, and it is tragic and something must be done. I can also remember, vividly going into a room and maybe sensing certain energies in the room or being able to tell when someone was sad or feeling down. And then I would also, begin to feel whatever that emotion that the other person was experiencing. And I didn't have a name for it until much, much later in life. And then it occurred to me with being able to feel just that deeply to be able to connect with people on a cellular level, on a soul level, that's a gift because most of the world will think first and then feel.
Mm-hmm.
But for the empathic person, we feel first and then think. And I was always a very mystical, spiritual child. I actually really loved going to church. I was very taken by the miracles of Jesus and like the transfiguration, all the mystical parts of it. And in my childhood, very formative years, my mother was very huge in the civil rights movement.
Mm.
And so as I grew and evolved, as I looked at all of our ascended masters, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, they all had something in common. They were all liberators. They were all sent here on a mission to the planet to help spiritually liberate, but also they were challenging political system.
Yes, yes. Disruptors.
Disruptors. And I'm like, oh. And I don't know why it took me till, kind of now to get the correlation, but spirit, God, source, universe, whatever name you want to put on it, has been sending us over millennia messengers to help us come back to the truth of who we are, but also challenge oppressive systems.
Mm-hmm.
And the empath has a very unique disposition with all of the clairs, with the deep feeling. And so, with all of that, what do you do with such a monumentous gift? For me, it is also in the feminine to reconcile, to heal, to use gifts of intuition, to
Mm-hmm.
look at community as a whole, to also look at a different form of leadership, which heavily relies on listening,
Yeah.
to deeply listen to not only what's being said, but what's not,
Yep.
and the preservation of life.
Mm.
What is the recourse that we need? What is the best pathway forward that will have the least amount of human casualty and disruption in a harmful way?
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at, particularly if any of your listeners are on the continental United States, the core component that was left out of the Constitution, of the formation of this country, was from the Iroquois Confederation, which had a council of elder women.
Huh.
Yes. So the Council of Grandmothers was the elder feminine wisdom. So it was the council that determined whether or not the tribe would go to war. It would be the council that would determine what would be the best recourse in the case of famine. So they relied heavily on
Mm-hmm.
the feminine wisdom, particularly elder feminine wisdom, to guide the culture, to guide the tribe forward. And
Interesting.
so we see, yes, it's very interesting. And so when we look at indigenous cultures all over the world, there is a heavy reliance on the feminine.
So much of what you say resonate. And just for me, I'm also HSP, highly sensitive person. I am an empath, but not, I know empaths stronger than me. So I'm not the strongest empath, but I definitely have that ability.
Mhm.
And it's funny, in my later years, I have come to realize the power of intuition.
Mhm.
It's wiser than my rational, strategic, very
Oh,
smart
absolutely.
brain is, right? So it's something that I speak on and believe in so wholeheartedly. This is why I was so excited to talk about this topic, because for me, Ber-Henda, I actually believe women are more designed to access intuition more readily than men are. And if we can, as women, can tap into that power we innately have, don't even mention the empathic part, because that's they're empathetic men as well.
Mhm.
But I do feel like as women, we lean into those traits more readily as how we are wired as women. I see those as feminine energy. Tell us a bit more about your thought leadership around. So I love your journey, and I love how you took what you saw as somebody else. I mean, if my example or my life would have said that was me being empathetic, and I didn't know I was that at a young age at all. I didn't understand myself at all at a young age, actually, quite honestly. So I would have took all that as like weird and whatever, not seen it as a strength. Um, so love you sharing your story on that and how, the spiritual thing, how it connected you. But now as a grown woman and as a woman who leads with these things, tell us more about your thought leadership around what feminine authentic leadership looks like and how we as women can tap into that power more readily.
Oh, wow. I love that question. And I think that the way we tap into it is when we don't dismiss it. So the first step I would say to anyone who is listening that is looking to lean more into the feminine, and for anyone who is listening, there are phases of womanhood. And so when you move past the maiden phase, which is, maybe 18 to maybe about 25, 26, and as you move into your 30s, 40s, you move into kind of like the queen goddess era, and then you'll move more into, the sage, and then you move
Sage.
into, right, and then you move into the crone. So actually, the older you get, the more the intuition
Yeah.
develops, and it'll flourish. You'll lean more into it. And so I would say the very first thing is when you get the feeling, the nudge, the gumption, the however it shows up in your body, don't dismiss it as you being overly sensitive, overly critical, overly whatever it is that the culture has ascribed to us as being. I would invite you to back it up a bit and sit with what you're feeling. What is trying to, because there's a knock, right? There is a knock there. There is something to be recognized. And you don't have to use the logical side. Well, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Right.
Anytime I have ignored my intuition, I have always landed in a world of trouble.
And I'll say the opposite, Ber-Henda. I'd say every time I've leaned into my intuition, I'm like blown away in a good way. Like, oh my God, my rational brain could not have conceived of this. And
Mm-mm.
I'm so glad I did not follow the rational brain that said, don't do that, because it didn't make sense, and followed my gut instinct, my intuition that didn't make sense, but it's so wise in ways that the rational brain, it's beyond the rational brain.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. And I love, so for those who are listening, check out Heart Math Institute, where there's an alignment between the head and the heart, because the heart has neurological faculties as much as the gut does. So like what is it, the third brain? Our guts actually do have neurological functioning, just like our brains have wiring and neurological functioning. So when we can marry both the head and heart, and this is another part for women that is also difficult, when the distance, but the midway point between the head and heart is your throat. And so sometimes those things that we need to say,
Yeah.
we'll stifle it and push it back in, which then becomes repressed. And for many African American women and women of African descent will find that we have the higher numbers of fibroid tumors. And the fibroid tumor is the manifestation of repressed creativity.
Really, that's interesting. That actually kind of resonates in a strange way, even though I don't know why. It's just like it resonates that the suppressed voice, truth, knowledge, wisdom goes through the body because the body keeps score. I know you know that book.
That's right.
The body keeps score, and then it gets blocked and becomes fibroid.
Can become fibroid tumors. It's your repressed creativity. And so we know that creativity is how the world started, procreation. And so when we have the creativity, the vitality, the sexual expression, and I mean, I'm going to get into some other areas that have definitely healed me along this journey, which is particularly from womanism, which is as we know that there's been a big rift with feminism, right? Particularly because it's been perpetuated by white women. But when we look at things through a womanist practices, when we look at things from a womanist view, Audre Lorde, I will sing her praises till the cows come home. I love her so much. She has a beautiful essay, dare I say, sermon called "The Uses of the Erotic," because she believes that the erotic within you is feminine. And so it's not just sexual, because she said there's a difference between the erotic and pornographic, because the pornographic is all about just getting and the release and the get off. But where are the spaces in our lives where we allow ourselves to be full, sensual, expressed beings? Where we allow ourselves, again, the gift of intuition, of wisdom, of cooperative economics. When we look at social justice, even justice, and again, when I look at it from the lens of even the Western Hemisphere and the northern part of America, North America, we see the symbol for justice is a Lady Justice. And so she's blindfolded and holds the scales. Well,
interesting.
That's actually co-opted from the Egyptian goddess Ma'at. So the Black woman, Ma'at, is the original archetype for justice, because the scales, right? Your heart had to be as light as a feather in order for you to enter into the afterlife. And so that was the judgment. And so we see that as the personification of justice is feminine. The personification of liberty, feminine. Our Lady
the
Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty. Also personification. So it's been talking to us, even in a subtle way. It's been speaking to us, regardless of how you look at your gender and orientation. There is something very sacred in the feminine. And getting back to the feminine empathic leadership, when you lean into your heart and allow your core values, what you find valuable, which in the feminine is going to be the perpetuation of life. All of the countries that had feminine leadership fared better with the pandemic. Every single country that had feminine leadership fared better.
And it's, I have to bring this up at this point because you're bringing it up, and this summit is airing the week before the major election in the United States.
Ooh.
And I am believing, Ber-Henda, believing, knowing that this something is called the power shift. Now, I didn't know at the time, but I believe the power in this country is going to be shifting.
It has to.
It needs to. And the Kamala Harris will become the new president of the United States. And with that, and as a woman of color, just interestingly enough, as a woman of color too, she's already speaking to her core values. She's already speaking to her the things that matter and but matter to all. She's so big on making sure that the middle class, get more support and more equality, more egalitarianism, all of that. So United States is one of the countries that has not had feminine leadership. There are countries like India and in Africa and the Caribbean that have feminine presidents my God, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
Parliament.
But yes,
Prime Ministers.
Prime Minister, thank you. I literally had a block. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Sorry, Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Ministers who are the seniors, who is the head, and then there's also the president. We have a female president. I'm saying, like, but why is it taking America so long? And I'm saying we don't know the result yet, but I am believing that it will be her. But why is it taking us so long?
Well, so this is when I talk about white feminism. This is why it's taken so long. So you have to look at, and this is why being empathic is so essential to our leadership. You have to look past yourself,
right,
and your own agenda, because what impacts one person, an empath knows what impacts me impacts you. When we look at the several genocides that are unfolding on our planet right now, when we think about what's happening in Palestine and Congo and Tigray and Sudan and Haiti and all of these places, I have to see myself as one of them. This is happening to me too. And if this is happening to me too, what will I do for someone else? That's right. What am I going to do about it? And that's the very definition of compassion. The compassion is the ability to see the pain in someone else, but the willingness to do something about it. And so compassion is what we need, right? And we also have to hold compassion for all oppressed people, because what we don't want to have happen, which we do see happening, is a rise in anti-Semitism. Right. We have to understand that there's a difference between people and governments. And so if I can see your humanity, well, one, I have to see my own and understand that I am fully human and flawed and imperfect, but I'm also divine, and so are you. And so when I look at you, and I love the definition of namaste, the light in me greets the light in you. Yeah. And from a church folk out there, you can say the Jesus in me sees the Jesus in you.
Jesus, right? I mean, the Bible says we are the light of the world.
Come on. Now, come on now. Don't look now. Hold on now. Don't get me started yet. Because look, we don't have okay church up in here. However, I want us to understand that our greatest mandate is love. And we have to see ourselves as beings of not only light, but love. And love is an action. Love is a commitment. It is not just sentimental therapy. It's strong. It is the essential power of the universe.
I was going to say that word power. I love that you just put that together, that love, taking action in love is powerful. Just to go back to the spiritual real quickly, as a believer, like Jesus, his whole, everything is about love.
Come on.
And so tell me, Ber-Henda, how Empathetic feminine leadership, I mean, you're kind of hinting at it already, but just say it out loud, how it's different from the traditional models of leadership that we've been experiencing.
Woo. Well, I mean, since we're gonna go there, here we are, Natalie. Here we are. So love is patient, love is kind, it is not boastful, it is not loud, it is not self-seeking.
Yeah, I love, because it's funny. I have a thing in my phone where I use that scripture, but I put my name in there to help me
Oh,
become more of that energy.
woo. Well, you just gave me one to grow on. I'm gonna tell everybody I know now. Like, instead of saying love, say
Say
your
Natalie
name.
is patient and kind. And
That's
yes, not, he's not boastful or proud or rude. I mean, yes.
woo. That's good. That's good. Oh, that's
This is what happens when we talk
yeah,
like
that's
this.
right. That's what talk like, girl. Hold on, I got it. Ooh, I'm getting talk
Wow.
amongst yourselves because this is getting
The
deeper.
empath in her is feeling, y'all. She's feeling.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. I'm all over my whole body to see that's God. That is a move of spirit. And see, you gave us a revelation there on how for us to go deeper into our love and to perfect our love. Love is like any other craft. It has to be perfected. It's a practice. Just like people.
But I want to give you credit, of course, because you saying it, you defining love by that verse is what reminded me of that is why I was doing that, because I wanted to exude and express more because of my conditioning and stuff. I know if I hold back, I know my heart has some layers and armors over it. So I'm trying to remove that armor. And that was one of the ways of me removing that armor, is saying that scripture using myself.
Now, I'm just saying right there that I hope that freed somebody. Whoever, I mean, because I know that this, I mean, this in and of itself is a form of ministry. So I hope that that just liberated someone to know that they are loved. And so that's the difference between empathic leadership and traditional leadership, is that it's not seeking power for the sake of power. It is seeking to liberate. It is seeking to transform. It is seeking to heal. And whatever the best ways for that to happen, if they are not necessarily like the leader, maybe they have the final say, but they listen. And they listen, again, based on core values, the perpetuation of life, what course of action will have the least amount of casualties. And even if it's not physical death, emotional or spiritual, how will the whole society benefit, not just self,
Right.
not just me, not just a few, but how can we have the entire society flourish? And this is why I go back to, again, womanism, because it looks at everyone. It is social, it is political, it is spiritual. And Audre Lorde says that I am not free while another woman is not free, even if her shackles are different than my own.
Mm.
So I'm not just trying to be free. And I wonder if as we're talking about this, do we even know what freedom is? Do we even know what liberation is? Do we know, I mean, intimately know what peace is?
Well, I feel like that. Let's just pause there for a second,
Mm,
because I'm getting goosebumps now, because liberation is not a word I use, but it's you hearing you say it. There is so, like, freedom is a word I use. Freedom is a big one of my core. Like, I want to get to a place where I feel free, free to be
mm,
me, just free to shine, free to show,
mm,
free. I think a lot of women, I think you're right, do not even understand that when you use the word liberation, freedom, expansiveness, what's the other word you just used?
peace.
Peace. I actually think we know the words, but do we know how to embody those words?
And see, embodiment is feminine. Just embodiment is a inherently a very feminine principle and state of being. And again, whatever your gender identification is, embodiment is what we want to move to, especially when it comes to our values, whatever our core values, what we say, we want to be the embodiment of it. And I love that even going back to the scripture where you inserted your name, what would it look like if we insert our names in front of peace? I am peace. I am liberation. I am joy. I am expansive. I am light. The truth of who you are. Because
Yeah.
this world has us so far gone and conditioned into thinking that we are separate from ourselves, separate from one another, and definitely separate from our source. So we're fractured. But empathy is going to bring us into wholeness.
That's good. Empathy is going to bring us into wholeness. So, it's so, gosh, I can't, you are so passionate about this.
I am.
In my book, It's Your Time to Shine, Girl, I have a section where I talk about empathy as being a leadership superpower. When I wrote that, this is 2.5 years ago, whatever more now, I knew it, but I know it even more powerfully now today. And hearing you speak about it like that, like I actually think this new model for leadership that we're talking about right now, and that partly what this whole summit is about is the power shift, and it's about leadership and how we as women can shift the way it's been done to a way that's more egalitarian, unifying, harmonizing, peace-oriented, transformative, liberative, as you were saying, healing, and all these things that normally would not be associated with leadership, right? But like if we can imagine a world where companies and organizations and ministries and schools and all the systems and things were led from their heart and with the collective in mind. I'm going to share something very controversial right now. This is maybe, and it's going to sound crazy, but when I was a child growing up, we read this book. Oh my God, can I remember the book? It was about communism. What's the name of the book? It's a classic book. And anyway, let me fast forward. Communism has always been seen as a bad thing because the way it was implemented was not actually ended up being for the collective in mind, even though it was stated that way. But it was a part of me, even as a child, that thought, this idea seems really good. Why is it not working? Like that everybody gets to be equal on equal plane, and that everybody thrives. Like in my little child's mind, I forget the name of the book, but it's still I mean, I don't know, it's a classic book. But anyway, I was like, it was about animals, and anyway, everybody, I was like, why is communism actually not a great model? But it's because the agenda of the leaders of the communist movements were not authentic in how they implemented those systems.
And very masculine. It still was very masculine, very egoic. And so it's going to see the equality, but yes, amongst just a few.
Right. The 2%.
That part. And so again, if I cannot see another human being through the lens of the Christ, through the lens of wholeness, through the lens of their humanity, I will then think that I'm better. And they are there. It's always going to be some
hierarchical.
That's right. And love and empathy will help me to adjust my vision. Some people call this the third eye. I call it the first eye. I will be able to see, right? I will have the metacognition. I will be able to see beyond sight. I will have the divine clarity because I know that as I'm leading, it's not me leading. It's the spirit of the living. I mean, if we want to keep it 100, it's the spirit of the living God that's doing the leading.
Yes.
That's
vessels.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
Oh, goosebumps again. We are the vessels. And
we are the
if we can see ourselves, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's get into spirituality here.
I mean, we're here.
We're here. How does spirituality play a role in the leadership that you envision, Ber-Henda?
Ooh, okay, so I've been fighting them back, so here they are. When I look at the leaders that have been the most influential on me in my life and the way that I want to lead, they have been Bishop Desmond Tutu, Bishop William Barber, James Baldwin, Nikki Giovanni, and Prince. When I say that these have been the 5 most influential people on my life.
Why Prince?
Why Prince? Because Prince has been a living personification of evolution. Someone in an interview had asked him, well, why won't he do Erotic City again? And he said, I'm past that. And plus children are watching. Prince was a very spiritual person. As much as he, put his sexuality on display, controversy and Erotic City and Pop Life, like, for all of our Prince, because we love Prince, right? We do.
I mean, it was the best concert I've ever seen. I mean, it was
in your whole life. But
yeah.
Prince was also disciplined. Prince was very disciplined, because in order for you to master that many instruments, you have to be disciplined in mind.
That's right. He was multi-gifted and ahead of his time. Like, even to make that movie Color Purple, that was
Purple
ahead
Rain
of the time.
Oh yeah. Purple Rain was absolutely ahead of its time, and he was involved in every facet of the music making, every facet of the score, the selection of the actors and actresses that he pulled out. I remember listening to a Jimmy Jam interview. For those of you, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, amazing songwriting duo.
Janet Jackson's like,
come on.
Yeah.
That's right. I call them the Brothers of Thunder, because I mean, again, they're genius, right? Talk about operating in your genius.
Yeah.
These geniuses the genius was brought out of them because of Prince. He pushed them. Anyone who has performed with him, played with him, said that they were pushed to their edge.
Like a higher level.
Yeah, he would take anyone and push them to the edge. And so I know beyond a shadow of that is a vessel God was using him. Because when he died on April 21st, a few days before my birthday. And I didn't even want to celebrate my birthday anymore, because I thought music had died, honey.
Wow.
I was just that impacted by it. But many people were impacted and are impacted by this man and his genius. And so when I look at how I want to be in the world and how I want to show up in the world, that's one of my blueprints, is that Prince was excellent in everything that he did. He was a giver. Just later on in life, he would do anonymous donations. Like, he just didn't want to make a big deal about it. But he was such a giver and such a huge proponent for the arts that,
Do you think he was an empath?
I do. I 120% do. I do. I believe it in my heart. Yes.
Wow. We aging ourselves here, I'm guessing, but it's okay, because
it's okay.
No, I literally, it's funny. I was thinking about him the other day, and I don't know, randomly, because I love music and
most empaths do.
I've been to many concerts, because I just love live music. And the concert I went to with Prince, it was the worst seat. I remember it was with my cousin, and we were in the top this whatever, because we bought it so late or whatever, and it didn't even matter.
Didn't matter.
It was like, I feel like I was right up there. His
energy radiated, where I'm sure, I mean, and how does one person and he was a tiny man.
Yes.
How does that one little man fill up the entire stadium? I mean, he was so resonant. And whenever you hear like those first chords of Purple Rain, I mean, they're very simple chords. It's not a very complex song, but it's a very emotive song. And that's the other thing that I want to say to any of the empaths who are listening to this. Empaths need music. We need something to clear out our energetic, because we take in so much.
Do you know I literally, music, jazz, smooth jazz plays in the background of my life right now. Thank God Zoom has a way you can't hear the music. I can hear it though. It goes on literally all throughout the day. I have music playing.
You need it.
And when I don't have it playing, it's like, it's just off. Something's off.
You're literally moving to the rhythm and key of life. And I mean, another one, Stevie Wonder, for honorable mention. Right? That, again, his lyrical genius, I really believe that he was just downloading, just like, okay, now what, God? Okay, now say what? Say that.
Ber-Henda, okay. I was literally just doing a whole binging recently, literally like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I've seen it one time in my life, but it was a long time ago. But anyway, binging on his music on YouTube, and I'm like, hit after, and I'm listening to the lyrics of these old songs, and for some reason it's hitting me like, how did he create this stuff? All these different melodies, all the things he did. It's like, like what you're saying, like it was literally like he was another one ahead of his time, light years ahead of everybody in his generation. And the music and I was seeing the comments, people say like, it's 2024 and this music is still so
Okay.
because it's like, it's genius music.
Mm-hmm. It is genius. It is genius music. And so if we lived our lives according to, those really profound lyrics, when I think about Stevie Wonder, all I do is think,
Think about
think about you.
you.
Yes. And I sometimes when I hear it, I'm like, I wonder if that's how God feels about me.
Well, you know what I think of? I think of that girl. I'm like,
Yes.
that girl.
Yes. And that is such a good one. I mean, they're all great, but that whole album, Songs in the Key of Life, I mean, you can just let that one just play, just
All
set it
day.
and forget it and just let it play itself out.
You know what I want to say to that point to bring us back around? I
Yeah.
believe that Stevie Wonder's, like his heartbeat was around love. And a
Yeah.
lot of his songs are about love.
Love.
But it was self-love, romantic love, love, you know?
Yeah. But I believe that's the catalyst that started all of creation was love. Because I mean, God said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was good. So our word, the spoken word, what we speak over ourselves and over our lives, speaking something can bring forth existence. So if we are
Yes.
endowed with that power, correct? Like if we know that we're endowed with that, then what are we speaking? And so it's the empath. What are you feeling? So this is why it's so important for you to govern your mind, your consciousness, and understand when you're feeling someone else and what's yours. And so this is why healing is so important, so that you don't get into an empathic loop where your trauma is playing over and over again because it's being activated by the outer world. You got to come back to your inner world.
So one of the things I struggle with as an empath, then you can speak to this, Ber-Henda, is
Sure.
like, so, and I'm learning to recognize it, but it's taking me a while. Like sometimes when I can put myself in that other person's shoes, understand what they're going through, and I empathize with them so much and I abandon my need, whatever that
Mm.
need might be. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
about that. Speak to that. Like, how do we, because one of the things I wrote about, but I wish I'd written more because now I'm saying I know much more, is
Yes.
the boundaries we need to have and the sense of like, I'm not going to tolerate XYZ as empaths.
So just because you feel it doesn't mean that you have to heal it. It is not your responsibility. You can give someone the awareness or the insights that they need. But sometimes because we feel it so deeply, we feel that we're responsible to change it for another person. Only the individual can change. Just like you have to do your work, they have to do theirs too. So the empath will have to erect healthy boundaries around what is theirs to do. And this is why one of my mantras every morning when I wake up, God, what is mine to do?
Mm.
And not everything is for you to do, especially for our empaths that may have precognition, know that maybe a death or separation is coming. You can't stop God. You might be privy to what is coming, but you cannot jump in front of the bus,
And
so
try
to
to
speak.
like, yeah, prevent it from happening.
No, that's not what's yours to do. Maybe it's the comfort because you know what is coming to give, the prayer, the song, the presence.
Mm-hmm.
But to interrupt, no, that's not yours to do, or try to save someone. We just talked about the best whoever did it. There was one savior in human, and that was the best. So what do you think you're doing?
Okay, so you and I are so like, we're so similar because I can tell this conversation is going all over the place right
All
now.
over the place. Yeah.
It's okay because this is how we roll. I want to get us back to when you were talking about the 5 people who, because you got to the
Mhm,
spirituality aspect, Desmond Tutu and
mhm,
Giovanni and Prince.
mhm.
Go back to that point about spirituality and
That's
leadership
right.
and why it matters.
And so this is why it matters, because we don't have true leadership if we're not following the leader.
Mm.
And so again, I'm sure your audience is going to come from a multitude of spiritual perspectives and traditions, and I respect it all, because it takes all of us to make this big beautiful planet that spin. It takes all of us to make that happen. So with that, these people have not only demonstrated a level of genius, they have also demonstrated a great degree of humility
Mm.
and dedication toward moving our humanity forward. James Baldwin, author, poet, creative, openly queer man, said this: because I love you, I have to show you the things you do not know.
Mm.
Mm. Mm-hmm. That is a requirement. And he also talked about how everyone is you. Everyone that you come across is you. They are also you. The police officer, the garbage man, the homeless person, that it is also you. And I know that that is a maybe more mystic principle, but if we bring this into our leadership, when you are making decisions, you're going to make decisions that it may be that you have to let someone go. It may mean that you're downsizing a team. It may mean the severing of a relationship because things last a season or a lifetime. But having that discernment to know, because you're plugged into the source, you'll understand where that feeling has come from. And then here's the thing: it's not always other people. Sometimes it's you.
Who is the you? Sometimes it's you who what?
So when I say it's you, sometimes we think that the problem is someone else. Sometimes the problem is you. You're it.
Yeah.
But when you can reconcile in yourself and not even put a judgment around that, like, you know what, I do need to shift my attitude. I need to shift my perspective around this. There's a judgment that I'm making. There's an error thought that I am having. And so true leadership is being humble. It's the humility to say, I was wrong.
And they're taking accountability, that part, because that is, I just wrote about that today, actually, as a response to somebody's post on LinkedIn. I said empathy, accountability, because they had all these words, and I chose empathy, accountability, and I forgot the third one, but self-awareness. Those were the three I picked from the list they had, because without accountability for your actions or your mistakes or your
That's
flaws,
right.
come on.
That's not leadership. That's a dictatorship.
Right?
That's not leading. That's a dictatorship. And we see how
That plays out.
Yes, and I heard you mention a bit ago, Trinidad and Tobago. We already know what colonization has done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We could look at, Trinidad was lucky we have oil, and we kind of did a little better than some of the other islands, but like Haiti, not
That's
good.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, heartbreaking what the situation that Haiti is in, and they were the first island to become independent, and they have been
Come on,
penalized for that.
Tucson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tucson wasn't playing games with us. But to your point, again, we have to see ourselves as the Haitian. We have to
Know
see
what they're going through
and find empathy for it. And so again, when we find the empathic way or response to it, what is the most compassionate thing that I can do? And people again think like, well, that's on the other side of the world. That has nothing to do with me. We're all interconnected. And this is why I love, Dr. King, when he's saying we are all inextricably connected.
And that is true. I feel like there's some of us who just innately understand that oneness that we have in humanity, but everybody doesn't get that. But I think maybe it's an empath thing too. I don't know, right? But
that is part of the empathic way of being, is that you understand implicitly that we are all connected, yes. And so leaning into that, being a demonstration, allows the freedom, the liberation, the very thing that is going to set us free is by you being in demonstration and owning that you're an empath, owning that you are a highly sensitive person, owning that, and sharing those gifts, widely and in a way that is uninhibited. That is what is going to lead us to a path of wholeness.
So with everything we've talked about so far, I know we're wrapping it up a little bit here now.
Yeah.
How does all this tie to feminine power, in your opinion?
Yes. So the feminine, again, is the incubation for life. The life force comes through the feminine, and we see it throughout many, 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 many traditions. We can go back to ancient Egypt, where the very first personification of a deity was the goddess Nut. Personified as a Black woman, arching over the earth with her breast forward, to symbolizing the feeding. Her body was made up of stars. So it goes back to the feminine. When we look at, how Jesus came to being, well, a woman had to break water for a man to walk on water.
I've never heard it said like that. That's cool.
Yeah. So it again goes back to, and then when we look at the Holy Mother, Mary, well, why was she chosen? Because of her, Mary was righteous in the eyes of God. There was a particular code of conduct and living.
Yeah. Humility.
Come on.
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of that. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you do really well, Ber-Henda, is to help women make sure they harness their energy and protect
That's
their
right.
energies as empaths. Give us some,
Mm-hmm.
before we end here.
Yes.
And not, we have one more thing before that, but just give us some tools and techniques to help us protect our energy, our time, our spirit, as we lead and go forth as full empaths.
Okay, so smooth move number one, when you wake up, ask your creator, however you connect to the divine, what is yours to do? And keep that as a mantra throughout the day. What is mine to do? What is my assignment? Because everything that comes across your desk, every email that comes to you, the power of the pause. That's number two. Pause, 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 pause. Not everything is an emergency, and someone's lack of preparation is definitely not going to become an emergency on your part. Okay. So pause as you're reading the emails or the text messages that come through. Is this your assignment? Is this yours to do? Is this truly an urgent matter? If not, put it in its proper place. Okay. Clearing your energy is going to be super important. This is when you might feel a little moody, maybe a little cantankerous. Like, why am I all of us like, why is my mood
Aggravated.
aggravated? Yes, agitated. That is a telltale sign that you have burnt out. That is a telltale sign that your energy has been just depleted and you're overloaded. So clear your energy. One of the ways to clear, take a sea salt and honey shower. So you can take sea salt and honey, rub it together, make it a paste, and like a scrub, and scrub your entire body in the shower. Light a white candle, pat yourself dry, and this will recalibrate your energy. Create a playlist for yourself, not for the mood that you're in, but the mood that you want to be in.
I love that. I love that one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You mentioned before, and I'm sorry, I just remembered it. So, because I think it's the same thing I know of. You mentioned heart mat. You know what the coherence device? Heart mat.
Yeah, heart bath. Yeah, yes, to be in coherence. That's right. The
Do
device.
you use the device?
So I don't use a device per se,
Yeah.
but I know when head and heart are not in alignment, when I'm indecisive.
Mm.
When I'm indecisive, my head and my heart are not in alignment.
And so how do you get back into alignment?
So then I go back. And so this is a technique that anyone at home can do. Over your heart, do an infinity symbol right over your heart. So right in front of your heart, just going like this, just do an infinity symbol, yeah, right in front of your heart. And this will help you get back into alignment.
Really?
Really. So the heart has an electromagnetic field. And so when we feel like our field might be off a bit, you can come back into alignment with the infinity symbol. If you are racing thoughts and you're thinking too much and it's just like, okay, you can interrupt it by saying this. What's my next thought? It just
Really?
It stops it right there.
I need to do that one.
Because empaths, we're overthinkers. We're overanalyzers.
Oh my God, I'm an overthinker. I am such an overthinker.
Analysis paralysis. We will just get into it. We're presented with too many options, too many choices, or we get into an empathic loop where we've absorbed some energy that might be too familiar for us. You kind of go down this spiral of thoughts. You can say it out loud. I recommend saying it out loud. What is my next thought? The thoughts will stop.
Huh.
I know.
Thank you. I mean, that's amazing. I don't know that one at all. I've never even heard of it. What's the next thought? Okay, I gotta remember that one because that's one I definitely have that issue. Ber-Henda, you have a free gift for our viewers, listeners. Tell us about it.
I do. I love this gift because it's a toolkit for you. So I mentioned some tools here that you can use, but in this toolkit, there's some grounding and shielding, clearing exercises. There's 17 types of empath. You can find out which one or ones you are, because you can be more than one.
Wow.
Right. And then there's an opportunity to be in community with other empaths. I do have a membership that you can join. But I hope that even if you don't decide to go into the membership, that there are some tools and gifts there that can help you clear your energy, get back to your homeostasis, and then also look at, where we get angry. Anger is a good thing because anger causes separation. And so anger is also a manifestation of something that you love being violated. So lean into your anger. I call it, well, it's called, not just I call it, but it's called righteous indignation. So the empaths I work with are also concerned with social justice. So what has you outraged? Why are you so upset? What has been violated that you care deeply about? So if that upsets you that much, that's yours to do. And so for Natalie, you and I, it's going to be the feminine. Girls are I love working with it. I love working with women and girls. I love seeing us have opportunities to be in community and to heal.
Yeah.
So I know that that's mine to do, because when I see injustices on the I get very incensed. I get very upset. Not as much as I used to anymore, because I understand my God power, but I do understand that I have a responsibility to love and serve, and so do you. Everyone who is listening, if you are in any form of leadership, and even if you don't think that you're in a form of you are. You have a platform, you have a social media page. Guess what? You're a leader by default.
You have a voice.
That's right. So that makes you a leader automatically. And then first and foremost, leading yourself.
Leading ourselves, right? There's somebody who said something like that, this a famous quote around that. This was fantastic. We could have, you and I could have gone for 2 hours, because
I know that's right.
I'm like, oh my God, I could have asked a gazillion questions, but I got to keep it contained. We only have so much time. Any last words you want to share before I let you go, Ber-Henda?
Love your empathic self. Value your gifts of intuition and heightened sensitivity. The world needs you. You need you. This is the time that, we had a dress rehearsal with the pandemic. And to a certain degree, it is still among us. But we have this pivotal, we're in a pivotal election year, and all of those things around it. I'm not going to tell you who, necessarily who to vote for, but I'm going to say this: vote your values and vote for whomever you believe is going to create a better world. And even deeper than that, you create a better world. You create a better world in here first, and you will see a better world on the outside. And that you have the power in your 2 hands and in your heart and in that beautiful thing called your imagination to create any reality you wish to see.
Woo, I love it. Okay, we're going to end on that note.
We're going to end on that
note. Y'all gotta go back and listen to this one. All of them are so amazing, but thank you, Ber-Henda. This was just a fantastic, exciting, so invigorating dialogue between you. I just thank you for your authenticity, your vulnerability, and all the things you shared. Oh my goodness, so much hair, so much gems, y'all. Look forward to seeing you, ladies, at the next session. Bye for now.
Bye for now.